As I've said, I should be live now. Can y'all hear me? Should have added another question for Tab. United Ireland by 2030. Um, just bang it in now. Just honestly, just chuck it in now. If you chuck it in now, I can get to it towards the end. Otherwise, I might forget. Just QA, just paste it in now, or I can do it for you. Can hear it. You can't see me, lad. Um, let's see. I'll post it. I'll post it for you. I'll post it for you. Let's see. I'll post it. I'll post it for you. Let's see. Well, let me do it. Yeah. Let's see. Put QA. Let's see. I'll post it. I'll post it for you. So at least that way I'll get to it in like a certain order. Good stuff. You can see there's a lot here, so there'll be a lot for me to get through. So it might be a bit messy, and not lineal, but we'll get through it very slowly. Um, got an announcement for. Oh, very slowly. Oops, sorry, that was my phone. I just use my phone to kind of read off comments. What do you call it? Yeah, we're just kicking. We're gonna kick off in a minute. It's just waiting to see if I can get some new people in. So how this will go is like last week. We'll just do the. Um, I'll just go through these questions and then let's see. Is there a way to sort by? Sort by? No, there's not a way to do sort by most. Well, to be fair, they're all got no likes anyway, so it's fine. I think, like I said, the Luke Thomas chat. He does the ones that have the most likes for about an hour. So we'll slowly build to that. This will be a staple of the channel, like regardless of whatever happens. It might be on a different day. But it's gonna be around like evening time. It's gonna be just kind of your questions. I think this is probably the best way to do it, honestly. It just makes sense. Thank you, Roshin. I really appreciate that. Nice of you to join us for once. Considering that I haven't seen you in any of these live chats. Oh, that's good stuff. Just gonna mute myself quickly. That's good stuff. CJ, Suzanne, everyone, hello. So yeah, nice of you to join us for once. Appreciate that €5. But yeah, how many people have we got? About like 15 people. I'm happy. I'm happy to start on 15. As always, if you miss your question being answered or whatever, you can always scroll back, and at some point I'll go back and do timestamps, no doubt. So yeah, we'll go from the from the top really, which is Andrew Murray's question. Well, you didn't know, now you do know. This is the third one I've done, so I'm really sorry. Sorry about that. Apologies. I won't do that again. I won't do that again. I promise. I'll mute the mic next time. Um, it's me. It's me getting told off. And we are about 6 minutes in. But yeah, it's number three. It's new. So I've only been doing this about 3 weeks. And my plan is just to keep it going. Honestly, every week there'll be a live chat. Every Scottish person's ears perked up when you open that. Yeah, they know. They know what's up. So yeah, I'll have to get another case of Iron Brew now. So thanks, Fearless, for that. I'm tweeting this. Thanks, mate. I need to start getting better at that kind of stuff. Just putting on Twitter and things like that. I've always wanted the problem with my Twitter is it's my personal Twitter, and it's just me like retweeting articles and stuff. Like my personal Twitter is a mess. I'll be honest. What's this? 2 notifications. RFA. So yeah, but like I said, my personal Twitter is a bit of a mess. But yeah, we'll slowly go through some of the stuff I wanted to discuss here, and yeah. How do you get €5 in this? €2.49. That is cheap. There's not really a minimum price. I think you have to do. I don't know about euros, but if you £2 lets you write in the chat. That's about it. So it goes from 2 to whatever number you want to put in. But I don't know. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. The super chats and stuff like that. Ellie's here. Oh God, I best watch what I say now. I don't want to get rinsed in the comments. Can you see mine? What? Yeah, it gives you more text. It's a bit. I don't like it. But it's the way YouTube is. So yeah, about 19 people viewing. So we'll get started. I think I'm not going to mess around too much more. So Andrew Murray's question: what is your prediction for Starmer's chances at a second administration? Thought on first past the post. If the first is merely like the previous lot with only slightly better management, 2029 forecast. I saw Novara Media's break down the proposals for student loans, where the difference between Tory Labour changes are marginal. It's embarrassing. Also, same question, but Conservatives purged themselves of their rosters. And have someone like Rory Stewart. I'll be honest, Andrew, mate. I detest Rory Stewart. So I call him Austerity Boy. That's the nickname I've got on for the channel for him. I will put that aside. I'll put that aside and say you're saying a pragmatic kind of centrist Remainer, right? Okay, so let's start with the first half of the question. Really been a bit cheeky because you asked two questions really. So if it's not much better, I think we will see. I think there's a lot of ifs in there. There's a lot of like variables in there because it's very likely that, excuse me, you don't typically in England see, or in the UK see a party do one term. It's normally two terms. That's the only issue with that. So I'd say I think if they have a majority in the next election, I think they will have a slimmer majority, but I think they will have it just about. Honestly, it might be like it's a hung parliament. I think, oh, if I was going to give a straight answer on this one, I think it will be another Labour majority, even if it's only slightly better than now, because I think people in England kind of run with the motto of better the devil you don't know, and the better the devil you know. That's one of the problems. So I think it'll be a Labour majority if Navarra's media. Okay, so I think it'll be a double majority. Honestly, I think it'll be 2029. They'll get a majority. I think, as things stand. If I was gonna make a prediction now, which obviously we're a long way away from, they still need to win the first one. But your question kind of hinges on that, anyways. Navarra Media's breakdown. So the tuition fees, the Labour changes are a joke. An absolute joke. There's nothing in it. I read the article that they posted. It was in the Telegraph, and everyone got annoyed because it was paywalled, and so they put a second one up like 2 hours later of Labour, like a Labour like website, and there was nothing. There was pretty much nothing in there. It was. I was like, why did you bother writing that? The same question. The Conservatives purged their roster. I think the problem is the Tory brand is toxic. The Tory brand is so toxic because the interest rate rises and things like that. I don't think they will. I think regardless of if they have a purge and they come back to the centre, and even if they push to kind of rejoin the EU or push for closer alignment with the EU, I think they're going to be out for a while. I think they'll be out for a while, honestly. I think they're going to spend some time in the wilderness. So to answer your question, regardless of if the Tories have a purge and they bring in someone who's a bit more pragmatic, kind of thing, more like a David Cameron type, I think they'll still lose regardless. I hope that answers your question, Andrew. I don't think you're in chat, but if you do watch this back, then let me know what you think of the answer. Having a look at comments, lots of people saying hello. I'm doing late shopping, only listening. I just did some shopping today, to be fair. Happy Saturday. Hi BMS and all visiting here. Feel the power. You have the rock and roll. I write that song for my lady friends from north of England. They called themselves Client. Hugh, I don't know what the hell that means, but you do you, bro. Hi Havoc. I'm purposely missing out someone's name on purpose. Can you guess whose it is? Thomas Punk. Let's see, just people saying hello. So yeah, that's kind of my answer on that one, Andrew. Not much more to say. How do you think the Lib Dems will do in the next election? So, there's an article here. The blue. Sorry, if I switch between light mode and dark mode, it's not my fault. It's because people don't have a light mode. I was kind of following the game today, and we hope and pray. That Inter Milan win. That's what I'm going to say on that one. Big up Inter Milan, but that's enough of that kind of stuff. So this from, oh yeah, that's today, isn't it? I thought that's from, time's going so quick. And so basically this is about how the Tories are kind of losing the blue wall to the Lib Dems. And you got to remember, the Lib Dems haven't really moved to the right. It's the voters, I think, in the blue wall just getting sick of the Tories with their tax rises, stealth tax rises and interest rate rises as well. And I think the Tory brand of being stable on the economy is completely dead. So like if you look at this quote here, I'm not sure who it's from, but it says the values of the people here have always been what they are now. Says follows. That's pretty centrist, pretty moderate, very tolerant, pro-European, very compassionate, reasonable, very well educated. Well, evidently none of this is really true. What constituency is this? Goldham Town Council. Let's see. Boris Johnson. I'm not sure exactly which constituency is this, but this is cap. This right here is all cap. Because if they voted for Boris Johnson was not a centrist, he was not moderate, he was not very tolerant, he was not pro-European, he was not compassionate, and he was not reasonable. So maybe I'll give him well educated. Maybe I'll have to see the breakdown of that. But this is cap. And if anyone doesn't know, cap means he's lying. Basically, it means lies. It's not just campaigning Lib Dems who claim something significant could be brewing in these seats and can be found across the home counties in the south of England. Many Conservatives also are concerned that in their party's desperation to win swathes of the traditional red wall seats in the Midlands and North, they have neglected these seats. And so the problem the Tories have is they overextended. Fair enough, number 3. But yeah, point being is like the Tories' problem is that they overextended. So they either try and push the populism to keep the red wall, which they are, I think, trying to do, but it's not working. And if they push the kind of moderation to go back to the centre, they'll lose all the red wall seats, and a lot of MPs will be annoyed. And if they don't come back enough towards the centre, towards the economic stability, then they're done as well. Like they put themselves in a catch-22 because the problem with that larger majority is that there's just too many vested interests. So the Tories' best bet is to come back towards the centre, honestly, and to look at what their core voters want, because the first rule of politics is don't abandon your base. Keir Starmer might learn that in a bad way in the election. You got Liberal Tory seats come with a parallel debate over tactics raging among Conservative MPs. Some want to take a more muscular stance with the right of the party. Others want to maintain a softer approach, cajoling Sunak and his team behind the scenes. So what you have is kind of the centre-right of the Tory party versus the right wing of the Tory party, and like the culture war people and the massive Brexiteers against the kind of Theresa May types. While Liberal Tories regard Sunak himself as on the right of the party, an orthodox Thatcherite, as he calls himself, they will also view him with relief and credit him with restoring order and moderation. So, if he comes back to the centre and doesn't offer the lunacy, he will keep the base, and that will impact the Lib Dems. But the problem is the Lib Dems have a lot more ground support, and they are very good at campaigning. And this is David Gork. I think he says people like Nicky Morgan, but I think Nicky Morgan was given a peerage. David Gork, he was kicked out. I think Rory Stewart left of his own accord. People who carry some real heft in the front of the party. Now, I ain't gonna lie yet. Nicky Morgan was a joke as a minister. David Gork, I don't know much about. I don't think he had much of a ministerial career. And as I said, austerity boy. Don't rate him at all. But he was a guy who seemed a bit reasonable, honestly. But I think one of the problems the Tories are going to run into is the demographic changes. I think that's really going to help the Lib Dems, because the Lib Dems do what they did in 2010 and trying to appeal to younger voters and say, like, you guys don't have the opportunities the last generation had, and we're going to try and give that to you. I think that will be a good take for the Lib Dems. The demographics are a big problem for them. Millennials would vote for just 21% of the millennials would vote for the Conservatives today. And me, I'm on the bottom end of that, really, 25. Pretty close. Well, I was pretty close to it. But yeah, the point is, it just depends. To answer your question, Roisin, before I blow you anymore, I think it just depends on how the votes pan out in their specific seats. You got some of these people talking about they're going to tactical vote. The other problem is that the Tories will have problems in their leadership contest as well because of the way it's set up. You can knock out some of the more annoying Tories because if they don't get enough votes, they're out. So it just depends. So they can tactically vote in the leadership contest. That's what it's designed for. But like this dude here, John Payne says, a retired insurer, he'll be voting tactically in the seat to remove the worst government in his lifetime. It just depends. I think the Lib Dems will do okay. But even in 2010, when they had their big success, they didn't do that well. They lost 5 MPs. But the problem is that because the other two parties did really badly, it helped the Lib Dems a lot. That's a really awkward picture. I'm not going to scroll down anymore. But I think the Lib Dems will do okay. It depends on how big the Labour majority is, honestly. But I think the Lib Dems will get back to probably the 50-ish mark of MPs because they got absolutely slaughtered in the last couple of elections, and it serves them right because of what they did in 2010 to 2015. But I think there's a new kind of group of voters, especially because the country, like a lot of other countries, have gone through massive demographic changes. With a lot of the not a lot, sorry, some of the older generation have passed away. Sadly, I'm not, I know people kind of say we need the boomers to go and whatever, but at the end of the day, I can be angry at the way they vote, but I'm not going to ask a generation of people to die. But people can be angry at them for the choices they make and the way they kind of talk about, oh, back in my day, I didn't have it so easy and blah, blah, blah. But point being is that it just depends on the demographic changes. Thanks, Fact. I don't know what 25 MYR is, but, I'll happily accept it. But I think the Lib Dems will do okay. I think they might win about 50-odd seats. It just depends on the way the tactical voting plans out. Just to answer your question. So they've got a lot of work to do. They've got a lot of work to do. About a 5 at cheers, mate, that's golden. They have a lot of work to do, Roisin. And I think if they get it right, they're going to win around probably around the 50-odd seat mark. It depends. The cover-up of the COVID inquiry. So, as you can see, I have an infinite amount of tabs here. We got Boris Johnson to bypass Cabinet Office and hand over messages directly to the COVID inquiry. So what's happened is Boris Johnson gave a lot of these messages and stuff to the COVID inquiry directly. So he gave it originally to the Cabinet Office, and the Cabinet Office, weren't going to hand it all over because I think she's a former judge, a baroness. I think it's her. She basically said, "Give me everything, and I'll figure out what's relevant or not." And the Tories were like, "No, we're not going to do that." And so what Johnson has done here is he's handed over everything. But the problem is he's claiming he's handed everything, but he hasn't handed in anything before May 2021 because of the fact he claims that his phone has a security concern, which I think is nonsense. I think it's absolute nonsense. They can get the WhatsApp messages and stuff off there if they want to, but I think he's lying there. But Boris Johnson's doing his best to kind of sink Rishi Sunak, honestly, because I think he saw Sunak as kind of shivered him. And you can see, the government to launch a legal bid to stop the COVID inquiry, seeing Johnson's WhatsApp messages. So what the government are doing is taking their own inquiry to court because the government did this, kind of as Phil pointed out, I think, to avoid questions around the inquiry. Boris Johnson pulled what Boris Johnson always does, which is he will set up an inquiry or set up some sort of investigation, and he's going to make it drag out forever, so then he never gets done for anything. He'll say, we've got to wait for the investigation. That's his number one move, and that's what he kept doing. Can we send it back? I'm not sending it back, Fact, unfortunately. But that's what's kind of the state of play right now. And if we look at kind of some of the tweets around it, the discourse around it, right, you got this from Henry Zeffman, who says, crucial new fact from the thicket of the COVID inquiry: Boris Johnson's passed lots of WhatsApp to the Cabinet Office, but they only date from May 2021. So people are aware of this. It's just a problem with, are the media going to make that apparent and add kind of that clarification? Yeah, and this from Sam Coates. So this is actually the most interesting thing, I think, which is that it's politically helpful that the inquiry vaccine module is suddenly being moved up so it features as we go into the election next summer, so the Tories can talk about how successful the vaccine stuff was, even though we know a lot of that was rubbish. They claim to be the fastest rollout in the world. I think Israel had the fastest rollout in the world. They claim to have the fastest rollout in Europe. We did for a certain point, and then after that, we just didn't. You can claim we're the fastest for about a month or two at best. But after that, we kind of burnt out and other countries took over us, especially on a per capita basis, which is the only thing really worth looking at. So that's what Sam Coates is saying, or at least Mark Thompson of Sky, because he's the one being cited here, was saying it makes a lot of sense. And when we look at some of this stuff, right, when you look at some of the stuff that was happening, one of the care homes was fine. This is not far from where I live as well. This case. Northampton, the Northamptonshire home was one of the hundreds across England put under unprecedented pressure after Matt Hancock, then Health Secretary, ordered a wave of discharges into care homes. So these are people with suspected COVID, because he thought they would overwhelm the hospitals. So what happened was the staff were overrun, they were short-staffed, and then with the influx of people, they couldn't cope. One said their loved ones was always thirsty when they visited and gulped down water when offered it. When community nurses were finally deployed, they found people left in soiled bedding and made a large number of safeguarding referrals. So this was happening. I don't know if it's, care homes, I don't think they're the best place for older people, I'll be honest. But what you have is a situation where these people were left alone, basically, really, older, vulnerable people left alone here. And this is the stuff that I think will come out more in the inquiry, because there is a key question here about what Matt Hancock's actions were. And I know he's going to quit frontline politics, but this stuff here will be a question of what did the Tories know about this? What did they know? Because what Matt Hancock did was, I'll be a bit careful with my words here, but what his actions did is lead to a lot of older people dying in care homes, and we saw the same thing happen in New York as well. So this is the stuff that's going to come out in the COVID inquiry. I'm going to cover this all in a video. It's going to be like a similar format to this. It's not going to be a super in-depth piece like I normally would do, just because there's a lot to talk about. And they've been engaged in a bitter fight, because Boris Johnson's happy to hand over the stuff after May 21, because I think that's what makes him look in a better light, I think. This from Bloomberg when it decides to load. You can tell I'm very well prepared for this. They're confirming kind of the Guardian story. I'll probably nix this one. But honestly, there's so much of it. It's just constant infighting around the inquiry. Johnson claims, this is Johnson's claim about the security nonsense. It's baloney in my opinion. I don't know what kind of demons hacked his phone. But, really important. We've got this clip. I know I played it before in video, but this is Rishi Sunak, honestly, talking about this. This is what's this one about? Judicial review. This is a Tory MP saying about the judicial review that he'd be surprised if the government won its legal challenge, and he's using taxpayers' money to do this.
That we learn the lessons of COVID, and that's why the inquiry was established, and we want to make sure that whatever lessons there are to be learned are learned, and we do that in a spirit of transparency and candour.
This is the Prime Minister of this country, right, when he's asked about the inquiry document. This is from May 30th, so it's a couple of days ago. What's that? About Tuesday, right? So this is the state of the country where he's saying there's certain things that just aren't going to be handed over, and then Boris Johnson's like, I'll do it myself.
Cooperated with the inquiry, tens of thousands of documents have been handed over, and with regard to the specific question at the moment, the government's carefully considering its position, but it's confident in the approach that it's taken.
Are you prepared to get into a legal battle with a public inquiry? Some senior legal figures think you'll lose that fight.
Again, not going to comment.
His own MPs don't think he's going to win this. His own MPs.
On the speculation, but we are carefully considering next steps, and the government is confident in its position.
Are you saying that
watching Brother Sunak get absolutely rinsed in the media? Yeah?
That it should be up to ministers to decide what documents are looked at by the inquiry, not the independent judge in charge of it?
Again, government's handed over tens and tens of thousands of documents in a spirit of candour and transparency, because it is important that we learn the lessons of COVID. With regard to the particular question at the moment, we're carefully considering next steps, but the government is confident in its position.
So you might not hand over that material that they're asking for then?
Again,
they might not have a choice at this rate. And like I said, this guy is just absolutely glitching. He's absolutely glitching here. because he's stuck on his talking points. That's something I've talked about. His big problem is he glitches. He's stuck on talking points. He's not a social person. You can tell, and there's no shame in being an introvert. Honestly, even if you're a politician, there's no shame in it. But when you're struggling in interviews, it just shows like how uncomfortable he is, and that's the difference between him and Johnson. Johnson is clumsy, but Johnson doesn't. I think people don't see Johnson as shifty. They don't see him as like super shifty. But I think Sunak appears kind of shifty and evasive and things like that. That's his big problem. So this is something I want to talk about in the video. But I mean, his own ministers don't think he's going to win it. It's just insane. I've never seen that happen with the government. So this one is the failure to create. These are stuff I'm going to cover in a video. But to answer your question. Yeah, this stuff is not relevant for the topic. Apologies for that. So to answer your question around the cover-up of the COVID inquiry, it's an absolute mess because Johnson's ready to nuke him. Johnson is absolutely ready to start throwing hands here because he doesn't care. He absolutely does not care about the Tory party. He never had done. Never has done. And, excuse me, what that means is, yeah, he's a master manipulator, honestly. He doesn't mind lying. Sunak is just slightly more concerned. I think Sunak's just not a good liar, honestly. He's just not as kind of comfortable in being able to lie. As in, his body doesn't sell it. That's the problem. And Johnson, he knows when to run. The guy hid in a fridge, for God's sake. Oh, sorry, just a weird comment. I'll address that in a minute. That's why he's concerned. Yeah, he's a bad liar. He's a bad liar, and he appears like it in the interviews. He's saying like, are you going to take them to court? Within about 2 days, it turns out they're going to go to a judicial review, and it breaks another manifesto pledge of frivolously using judicial reviews. So I just saying, I don't know if you're in the chat, but I hope that answers your question. It's an absolute mess, mate. An absolute mess. Yeah, exactly. He knew how to lie. He knew how to hide. I mean, the guy is he's a generational politician. Him and Donald Trump are, it's not to give them credit, but they are generational politicians. We will not see the likes of them for a while. Guys that kind of knew how to spin, knew how to lie, were just the best conservative politicians at just being able to escape a situation. Never in my, I've not been around as long as some of you guys in the audience, but honestly, Sunak he just repeats his questions. Honestly, he's just constantly repeating it, and it looks slimy. And it looks like he's just constantly glitching. Honestly, it's just wow. It's just wow. Honestly, you think with all the money, all your billions, right? You could buy classes on how to tell lies better. Well, Elon needs to learn the dark arts first because bro doesn't. He's bad in interviews as well. I guess it's the curse of being a billionaire, right? But if I was Sunak's wife, I'd be like, look, man, you don't know how to lie. You're gonna go take a class on it because it's just awful. You're embarrassing the family, honestly. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. How about I throw back the science and technology behind Cambridge Analytica and social media? Look, I don't know the specifics about Cambridge Analytica and stuff. It's been a long time, but I do know they use the algorithms and such to try and use I think it was effectively data mining and things like that to try and build profiles of people and figure out what best applies to them. And I think there was some illegality around how they got certain bits of data. But I'm not gonna. That's kind of. It's not boring, but it's kind of boring to go through that. But I think what they did is use really aggressive data profiles and figure out, if they said to some people, oh, Turkey are going to join the EU, we're going to be flooded by millions of Turkish people, stuff like that, then that would appeal to them, the sovereignty arguments, all of that kind of stuff. So I think that's my kind of take on Cambridge Analytica, just saying. A question from QA. QA's got 2 questions. Really, let's see. Good TQ number. Let's have a look. So, will there be an agreement on the Horizon programme, or will this government totally stuff it up? And has the damage already happened with its effects starting back in 2014-15? And could the UK ever recover, even if the UK rejoins the EU as a full member? So, couple it's two parts of this, right? So let's start with the first one. So when it comes to Horizon, the government look like they've stuffed it up because they're trying to nickel and dime it. So what I mean is they're trying to like say, we don't want to pay this much into for the next few years and things like that. Even though we had an agreement of around, I think it was like 1 point something billion a year. I think it was 7 billion over the this budgetary cycle. So Sunak's trying to nickel and dime it and say, oh, we're going to look at doing a deal with the Americans and the Japanese and things like that. And I think that's fine. You know, if we come up with other research agreements, that's great. The problem with that is, though, when you look at Germany's time zone's an hour ahead. It's very easy to get to Germany, right? Short flight. If you want to get to Japan, that's a long-ass flight. Like, I've been on a flight to Bangladesh, right, which is a lot closer than Japan. And I'll tell you what, that was an uncomfortable plane ride. That was you got to adjust the time zones. So if you're not actually working in person with the people you were doing the project on, that's a huge adjustment. Same with America as well. The only benefit of America is the language. Really, obviously it's English or American English. But point being is like what the government are doing is just dumb. And so to answer your question, they've stuffed it up. They've absolutely stuffed it up. There is an agreement on the Horizon project. Like, we can go back in, but the problem is the government just are trying to nickel and dime it. And so, to answer that one, they've messed it up totally. We should have gone back into the Horizon program as soon as we were allowed back in, but the government were like, actually no. And our science minister, I think his name is that Freeman guy. He's a moron. Honestly, he's one of the biggest clowns at the circus. Where's the Canadian? Yeah, where is the Canadian? Actually, he's not here. I can't see him. He might be sleeping or something. So yeah, I don't see him. I don't see him anywhere. But so I hope that answers your first question. Second question. Has the damage already happened with this effect starting back in 2014-15? Could the UK even recover? So the issue is that the UK, like, it's not seen as a safe bet anymore when it comes to science. And so what that means is there'll be a reluctance to come to the UK, because one of the reasons that scientists, I think, do come to the UK is because we're in the Horizon program, and English as second language and things like that would be helpful. And a lot of there are some really great universities in the UK, Oxbridge, the Russell Group, the top 20 universities and stuff like that. I think Southampton are great when it comes to science and tech. I think Fact might correct me on that one if I'm wrong, but I've heard great things about the Southampton University, and my friend studied there, and that guy was an actual genius. Honestly, shouts out to Jimmy. But yeah, honestly, let's see. Has the damage happened? I think the damage didn't necessarily happen in 2015, 2014, but I think the damage happened as soon as we weren't. As soon as the stuff kicked off in 2019 about the Northern Ireland Protocol, and once the EU said. No, 2020, when the stuff kicked off around the Northern Ireland Protocol and all that Horizon funding was pulled, that's when I think the damage really settled in. And you had a lot of kind of dual nationals and things like that, Americans and EU citizens. They were like, we outdog. Like, some of them were left prestigious universities, and they've been here for decades. There was a Guardian piece about it, and I remember I covered it on the channel. Some of these people have been doing like various types of study for about 20 years. Some of them were told the only way you can get the Horizon funding is if you do your work in the EU. There was one dude. I'm all good on tiddlywinks if that helps. Fair enough, fact. There was one dude. He was going to do some research on one of the older Chinese dynasties. He claimed it was a big deal, and I'll take his word for it. I'm not too clued in on the Chinese dynasties of the past. I'll be honest; it's not my area of expertise. But he couldn't do it because the Horizon funding was pulled. So the UK, god damn. So the Southampton University was looking at budget cuts of 97% due to all their EU research work. I have a friend working there. That's from QA. Library. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me, because that Horizon funding went a long way, because the UK paid into the Horizon budget a lot, but things we got a lot of benefit out of it because of the fact that we had a lot of great scientists here. Partly because of Britain, the education and stuff, but I think mostly because we were seen as a great hub for science. science, technology, that kind of stuff. When you look at us now, you've got Dyson crying about the fact that UK doesn't train enough engineers. They can't get the kind of foreign staff in either that they need to do the research here. It's just an absolute mess. So I think I think the main problem was when we didn't get that Horizon, when we didn't get back into Horizon originally, when the EU blocked us, and I think rightfully so they blocked us. I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue for that. I don't have an issue with that, but what I would say is that's the bit where I think push came to shove, and a lot of the scientists are like, nah, this is insanity right now, because one of the things that Johnson pushed was to keep us in the Horizon program. There was a reason for that, and I think someone within the government, it's probably not him, someone in the government valued the Horizon program. They didn't value Galileo, even though the Galileo program would be hella expensive. But the issue was that we didn't get Horizon Ascension. We have a lot of visas now and a lot of red tape, so that stops scientists now from the EU coming to the UK. It stops a lot of the PhD students coming to the UK as well, the ones that help with these research programs and things like that. And so that's the problem. I think even if the UK gets back into the EU, we're tainted now. We're going to be tainted for a while. And I think it depends on how good the other countries do at poaching talent. Because if, say, Germany's seen as the research hub for certain things, which Germany are great at a lot of things. I've seen, Germany have always been a leader in certain sciences and things like that. They've had, the best tanks some of the best tanks for decades when it comes to the military stuff. So it just depends on how the other countries do regarding science and tech. That's what it's about, I think. Because if France or Germany or Netherlands or whatever country, right, in the EU becomes a big science hub, Ireland or whichever name a country, right, if they become the next science hub, then the UK's screwed. Regardless of if we rejoin the EU as a full member, we are tainted and we might get usurped by someone else. Someone leave a comment here. Sabine left a comment. I don't know the final answer, but I watched the last meeting a few days ago. The UK does not want to pay its share to participate in Horizon. This was said during the meeting on the 25th of May. The words of the European Commission were quite frank. You want to be within the project without paying. It's Thatcherism once again. Damn, that's cold-blooded. But it's true, though. I'll have to check that out, Sabine. Honestly, if you message me on Patreon, I can see what you're talking about, because I know you sent me something to have a look at. I haven't had the chance yet, but I will do next week. I'm just, as you can see, infinite tabs here, far behind everything. Let's see. Is there anything else in the comments? Southampton facing budget cuts. That cut won't be across the board, probably just in particular research hub projects. It'll be whatever Horizon's not covering, I'd imagine. Horizon money's gone and budgeted all the way to 2027. Yeah, but the thing is, though, if the UK pays in now, if the UK if the UK fulfilled what we were meant to fulfill, then we'd be all right. We'd be able to get into the project, and the money would start flowing back into UK research. Roshin saying the row over the protocol caused the damage. Yes, 100% it did. Joni says something about the Horizon, how the UK is not in. Blah blah blah. AstraZeneca built a research centre in Republic of Ireland. Yeah, I think they see that as kind of their future. Ireland is massive when it comes to pharmaceuticals, so setting up a research hub is a big deal for them. I've got one from Ellie. I'm going to assume this is a joke question. She says, will I go to jail if I beat up obnoxious Regionorati, or will I get an order? Question mark. And so it did ask if she was talking about a verbal beating or a physical one, and she said it's not going to be a verbal one. So yes, you are. If you come here and do that, you will get put in jail if you get caught. But yeah, I just wouldn't recommend it. I'll be honest. I can't see what the comments. Let's have a look if the comments are a dumpster fire. Sock Juice, you'll be awarded a medal, Ellie. Would you like my assistant? You will not be awarded a medal. You will not be awarded a medal. And she says she's not going to double down on it. One cannot verbally beat someone. Blah blah. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. I think QA had one more question, which is, United Ireland by 2030, all but 3 betting companies have stopped taking bets. I think it depends on when the border poll happens, because because that's going to take a few years for that to even happen. And I think they'll take a longer process to do a United Ireland in terms of, even if they win a border poll, say in 2026, right? Which I don't think is that unreasonable. 2076, right? If we just throw that date in there, you're talking 4 years to sort out, a United Ireland, exactly what it would look like and things like that. They would have to. I think Ireland would have to come up with new constituencies regarding voting, and so many other things. And I'll be honest, I don't think I'm not an expert on Ireland, so I could be wrong here, but I don't think the parties in charge, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, or Fianna Fáil, whatever they're called, I don't think they really want a United Ireland, and I think they are going to delay it because it doesn't benefit them. They've benefited massively from the way the demographics and the population are in Ireland. They won't. The one thing political parties don't do is jeopardise their ability to win. And so if they don't see it as in their interest to keep on to power, they ain't going to push it. And they'll drag it way past 2030 because, like I said, we are still a while away from a border poll even happening. And it just depends on how much. It depends on what the next Irish government looks like. That's going to be a key question. Is it going to be a Sinn Féin in coalition with somebody else? How's that going to work out? That's going to be the key problem, I think. Chat disconnected. Is my internet being weird? Open the budget for that. We will not open the. They've already opened the budget, mate. They've already said that they will allow the UK back in. So that's done. It's more important to do it right than worrying at timescale. Preparation is key. Micheál Martin would help regarding unification. Yeah, but like I said, it just depends on if it's in his party's interest to do it. That's gonna be the key question mark. Like, if he thinks it's in his party's interest to do it, he'll push it. If he doesn't, he won't. Even if the UK joined Horizon Day, it would not be getting any leadership roles or related funding until. I don't know if that's true, Joni. I'll be honest, because if it's the case that the UK is not going to get any related funding, then us paying in makes no sense. But as far as I'm aware, I think it would just be they can allocate the money based on whatever projects are still require funding. I'd have to look into it properly. But if it's the case that the UK is not going to receive any benefit from it, I don't imagine there's any point to us rejoining until the next 7-year period starts. QA saying, wonder how many Sinn Féin seats would win on the first election after United Ireland. It's an interesting question. It's just like, if Scotland gained independence, how would the SNP do kind of post independence? That would be an interesting question, but we won't know unless it happens. But that'll be quite fun, I imagine, to kind of see. There was a couple of other stories I wanted to discuss. I think, I'm just trying to think, because like I said, I've got like a lot of tabs open. I think last week did we discuss? Let's see, 26. Would we have discussed it? Possibly. But did we discuss the stuff around Starmer talking about? I felt like I discussed this. I'm just trying to check the dates. No, we couldn't have. We couldn't have discussed it because this article's day one. So I think chat problem. Yeah, it's disconnecting. I'm not sure why. It should be okay now. I don't know if it's YouTube being an issue or it's my internet, but I'm not sure. I think it's fine now though. Let me know if there's any issues. But yeah, I wanted to discuss this. I'm going to discuss it in a video anyways. There was a couple of articles actually. There was this one in the Express which I found really funny. That's what I mean, Roshin. Like, there'll be smaller fish amongst the United Ireland electorate. I would fancy alliance as part of coalition. That's a shout. Yeah, it could be them. Groundwork, civic assemblies, engagement required before a border poll. Big risk is that the UK would cut and run if Northern Ireland votes to. Yeah, they'll pull all the investment. They'll pull out a lot of investment and they'll just mess it up. They will cause you a massive headache. The UK can offer that the EU doesn't already have. EU full access or adapted, like removing UK routes. You not dropped a frame this live stream my end. Okay, it says on my phone. It just say like there's an issue. There was like a cut for a second. It's funny. I had to resubscribe to your channel. That is weird. Just saying. I answered a couple of your questions at the start, mate. So if you wanna have a look at that, if you missed it, feel free to go back. government is about management. That needs to be unified. The whole, yeah, it's gotta be managed well. I think it's got to be really. I think what YouTube. Yeah, I think Joni, it could be YouTube. I think what Ireland needs to think about is, I don't think you want a situation where like you had East Berlin and West Berlin, where even now you can kind of see the difference between the two kind of areas, where you can see East Berlin is still, despite all of the funding being put into it, it's still not as I don't want to say as good, but as kind of nice. I don't know how to phrase it, or as developed as West Berlin. And I don't think you want that situation, because there are a lot of problems within Northern Ireland, a lot of problems. And I'm not talking politically, I'm talking economically and socially. And that's going to be a lot of work for Ireland to fix. So it's going to require a lot of funding. I can see the Americans putting in decent amounts of money. But it's going to be one of those things where you've really got to think about what you got to do, what you want it to look like, and how it's going to be. And that's gonna take a lot of civic assemblies, and I think there might be some people who are annoyed about the amount of money that's going to be pushed into Northern Ireland from Ireland. They might see it as, well, that's my tax money being put into Northern Ireland, I'm not going to get a benefit from that. And I'm not saying Irish voters are as selfish as kind of English ones, but there will be, I think, some people who have that mentality. 91 Leeds, I think it's been a while. It's going good, I think. I think the stream's going well. There was this bit I wanted to discuss, because I want to cover it in a video, and kind of Labour's lunacy. So yeah, I think we'll discuss this bit. I'll go back for some more questions in a sec. I'm just going to grab a drink quickly. Just bear with me one sec. See, chat right, it could happen if there's no doubt, but Fine Gael are afraid of Sinn Féin. If they stick with Fine Gael, they can keep Sinn Féin under pressure. It just depends. It's going to be tricky, because there are a lot of politics at play. That's going to be the key question. But yeah, I did see this piece in the Telegraph. Someone brought it to my attention, and so what Labour are apparently saying is they want not an alignment, an equivalency deal. So just quickly, an equivalency deal is where two countries kind of look at each other, or two entities look at each other and say, our rules are roughly similar, so we can have an equivalency deal. So we can cut the amount of checks that we need. So in this case, if the EU and New Zealand have an equivalency deal, so they say our standards are roughly similar, we can cut the amount of checks we do because your standards are about the same level as ours. So it makes sense, right? The issue obviously with New Zealand being very far away from the EU, so it's not really a threat. But I think it's kind of the EU's way of promoting, I think, global standards, in my opinion anyways. And I think they've done the same with Canada, even though I think Canada has lower standards than the EU, I'll be real. Yeah, the EU will put a lot of money in. It's just where the in fact, you're gonna have to watch your language, mate, because what's it called? YouTube's not happy with your comment. Press show on it twice. But yeah, with the Horizon stuff, it'll be if it is in the EU's interest. This is gonna be it. Yeah, I think that's what we're discussing. With United Ireland, the EU will put a lot of money in. It's just got to watch out for the brown envelope geezer. I think you guys will know who I'm talking about. You got to watch out for him, and his ilk, I guess, because some of that money will get taken under corruption. 36 people in the chat, so yeah, we're doing all right. I think we're doing pretty good. For facts, Joni's got jokes. But yeah, you want to abbreviate it, fact. That's how you get around the censors. But yeah, Horizon, it just depends on what the EU want. And I think the EU will take the extra funding because they can do a lot with it. But yeah, let's see. To be fair, fact, are you talking about this equivalency stuff that we're discussing on screen now? I'll just wait for you to clarify for a minute. But yeah, I think the problem is, like, he's saying, the UK are gonna. Okay, there we go. I thought you were talking about Horizon. The key thing is, right, is an equivalency deal in the interest for the EU, for the UK to get that? No. And the EU kind of discussed that, and I think it's in this article. And the reason why the EU did that is, I thought it was a bit whack at first, but it makes sense. So This is, I think, from Lord Frost saying, quote, "It's always been clear that the only kind of food standards or veterinary agreement the EU will do with a near neighbour like the UK is one where we accept EU laws." End quote. And obviously Boris Johnson didn't want that. Frost obviously getting annoyed. New Zealand and the EU recognise each other's agricultural standards as it being equal or roughly equal, allowing most border checks on food to be scrapped. But obviously New Zealand's not exporting a ton to the EU. That's the point. They're not really a competitor in that regard because of things like geography. So Labour will seek a new veterinary agreement for trade in agri-foods, something countries like New Zealand and Canada already have. So you got Rachel Reeves saying to help our farmers, blah, blah, blah. Brussels argued that it cannot, this is key here, it cannot grant the same deal to the UK because doing so would present a big threat to the competitiveness of European farmers. It argues Britain is a much larger and closer trading partner, meaning there's significant greater economic risk of importing more cheaply produced products because an equivalency deal is very different. Someone got rid of him. Someone got him. The sound is gone. What? Has it? Has the sound? The sound is. It should be fine. What's going on? Hello. It should be. It should be fine. Is it? Is it dead? I don't. You dropped a lot of frames. Oh, it must. It must be. It must be a YouTube issue. I think maybe my settings are off. It says excellent connection though. Is it? Is it good? Are you back? Sound is back. Okay. Let me go back a second then. Let me go back. All right. 38. Almost got 40 people here. That's crazy. That's you know, this is I think this might be a record high. This might be a record high for the channel, which is great, which is really great. Equivalency and dynamic alignment are they are very different. And so let me who didn't like the stream? Let me rewind, okay? So the EU have said, look, they're happy to grant, you know, they've given alignment equivalency deals with Canada and New Zealand. Yeah, they're very far away, and it's a good way for the EU to promote global standards. It makes sense, you know, they're not a competitor, but the EU can say to countries, look, if you have high standards like New Zealand and Canada do, you can get agreements with us. We're open to that, right? And the reason why Brussels won't give that is because it promotes a threat of the UK having competitive advantages. And what that means is an equivalency... What? The screen is black. Is the screen black? Can you guys see the screen? Screen is fine, because on the YouTube thing, it looks fine. You guys are trying to give me a heart attack, honestly. You're just absolutely trying to rattle me today. Have I not suffered enough, people? God damn. Alright. Okay, Gladriana, let me know if there's an issue, because I don't know if it's on your end, but... Fresh, yeah, I think it just crashed. It's YouTube. It's something going on with YouTube, I think. Yeah, just if there's an issue, just refresh the stream. You should be alright. Anyways, maybe no idea, but I can hear you, so it's fine. Just restart the app, honestly. It might be an app issue. Or look at updating it, if you're on your phone. Okay, cool. Continuing on with the class. QA, I told you guys, don't mention, oh my god, Google's open. No. The text is a little blurry. That's just low resolution. I think there's some sort of issue going on here. It's just the how much hate have the DUP. It's all the hatred that the DUP are sending. I can only see screen, but it's blurry. If you up the resolution on your phone, you should be able to see it. If you check your device, because I've just changed mine. It went to dark for a second. I can see document highlighted in dark green. Yes. It is dark green. Just 1 second, guys. Yeah. So what we're discussing is like, would the EU do, you know, because in the original TCA, dynamic alignment was offered, and I think that was offered mainly to you know, to help with the Northern Ireland Protocol. With the Windsor framework, I'm thinking a lot of it is sorted, but the EU are wary of that EU retention bill that will deregulate a lot of UK industries. But if we have a look at this, right, we know dynamic alignment and equivalency are two very different things. So what Labour, I tried to find a source on this, right, but what the EU have said is because of the UK size and its geography, it's not going to do it because the UK could, even with an equivalency deal, the UK could undercut EU farmers because, like I've said, an equivalency deal isn't, you don't have the same standards. You might have slightly less standards, which gives you an edge. And, the EU is very protectionist, as we know. That's the one thing Brexiteers got right, is the EU are a protectionist racket and they will protect their members. I think if you guys check the screen resolution, it should fix it. They will protect their members. And so what that means is they will protect their members and their farmers, because at the end of the day, that's what's in their interest. And you don't want French farmers or Dutch farmers or any of those kind of farmers that will kick up a fuss. Honestly, because they do not mess around over there. They will mess you up in a protest. So that's what the EU have said. They're saying they're not going to do an equivalency deal, and that's one of the things they were consistent on. So I tried to find a source on this, and I struggled. And it took me, I don't know if someone sent me this, but this was Labour's proposals way back when. Let's see, when was this? 22, right? And so, let's see if I can find it. New Zealand. So Labour will seek a new veterinary agreement for trade in agri-products between the UK and the EU, something New Zealand and Canada already have. So we know the EU aren't going to offer an equivalency deal. And I think what the Telegraph are doing is they're looking back at Labour's original, Labour's previous statements, right, and are trying to pick holes within the party. And I can see their game. I can see their game, and that's whatever, right? But if we look here, this is from the New Statesman, right? So Labour is convinced there are many individuals deals to be struck, and obviously that can be seen as cherry picking. The EU aren't going to offer a Swiss style agreement, but could the UK get Could the UK get deals with the EU, bilateral deals? It's possible. It takes time. It's obviously got to be in the EU's interest for the most part. And the UK have to prove that we are reliable trading partners. That's one of the things. The EU is busy with Ukraine membership and Moldova. Yeah, I think Moldova are looking for an expedited membership. But the EU have a lot of diplomats and things like that. Like, it's not going to take up the total time of the staff that they have. And so what Labour are claiming is they can get a deal sector by sector. Whether that's possible or not, I don't know. But when we look at the stuff Labour are saying, because obviously there's stuff that Labour are saying, the stuff the EU is saying, so it's important to look at both and see what we can conclude from it, just to see where the kind of political parties are at in the UK anyways. It's a fun conversation, let's put it that way, at minimum. So Labour are claiming we're going to get a sector by sector deal. I don't think that's going to happen. Larry the cat is here, the goat. But Labour are claiming it's possible. Starmer is deluded. But this is where I get frustrated. So this is from a frontbencher saying, quote, "If they say fine, you have to have freedom of movement, they know we can't accept that. But they are talking seriously. We have no problem with dynamic alignment," end quote. So, can you see the issue here? In one statement, bear in mind this is 2022, so this is last year. The UK have said they want to get an equivalency deal. Now they're saying they'll accept an alignment deal. What's going on here? They're saying two different things. That's where I get frustrated, because like, if you're going to play the game and say we're going to get a veterinary agreement with the EU and say we're going to go for equivalency, and they'll, the media and everyone will turn around and say, well, you can't get equivalency, and the EU are saying you can't do that, and Labour can turn around and say fine, they're only saying that because it's a negotiation, and we're going to negotiate, and they put in their manifesto we'll get a veterinary agreement with the EU, and it turns out to be an alignment deal. That's fine. I can accept that if you're going to play the game, but at least play the game well if you're going to try that, because evidently you're not doing very well, because someone on the Labour front bench is saying we have no problem with dynamic alignment when you said you're going to get an equivalency deal, and this would be around things like agriculture. I know it's not mentioned here. Oh no, it is mentioned here, in agriculture. So just be consistent, people. That's all I ask. See if there's any interesting comments. The EU wants peace. The customs union single market would bring that again. I'm not sure how to get there. You won't get there. The only way to get into the single market is either to join EFTA or to become a full EU member. That's it. There's no other way. If you want to try and get all the EFTA members and the EU members to come up with a special mechanism for the UK, then best of luck with that. That's going to be a nightmare. Stan was in Dublin last year, sniffing around on what? Hi Simon, OG in the an OG in the chat. An SPS alignment deal was offered to the UK in the context of Northern Ireland Protocol. That's gone. Yes, that's what I mean. Like, it was offered originally, I think, especially for Northern Ireland, and because of the Windsor framework, I don't think the EU will offer that again. It depends. It's possible if the EU see it as benefiting themselves, but the problem is the SPS agreement mostly benefits the UK because it will lower the amount of checks the EU are doing on UK goods. And the issue is that the UK aren't doing a lot of checks on goods coming from the EU. We know that. That's one of our major problems. So all it will do is make exports from the UK easier to get into the EU. So obviously, it's obvious why Labour want it, but the EU might say no to that, or they might say yes because it promotes the global standard, and things like that. I don't know, but I think it's unlikely to get a full agri-food agreement. They might do it on certain things. I was speaking to someone about it. I'm not going to mention his name just in case he doesn't want me to. We were discussing it the other day in chat, but he said, maybe something on Welsh lamb or things like that. They might get some sort of agreement on specific things that maybe they don't produce as much in the EU, but I don't know for certain. It's told nicely that the EU decides the rules. I mean, that they do. To be fair, it's not wrong. I think the island of Ireland is on a path of unification regarding demographics alone. That is true, I think. There would have to be vet checks coming from New Zealand and Australia in order to begin this process. The amount of checks are much lower. The amount of checks coming from goods from New Zealand to go to the EU have a much easier time in terms of checks than goods from Great Britain to the EU. That's something where that's something they've talked about in the media, like last year, I think it was. The UK will be importing festering meat from the other side of the globe. The EU cannot risk that coming into the market. That will be a big issue for the EU. Alignment. How will all that happen with all the crap coming into the UK from Australia, right? The thing with that is I believe the UK-Australia deal has a 6-month kill switch in it, where either side can terminate it with just 6 months notice. So I'm guessing Labour will do that, but the thing is they haven't really said that, and it's not detrimental, but I think they would have to do it. The EU are not overly concerned with farm producers. They are too small, but they can use it as a bargaining chip. Then how can they trust the UK, Australia, Canadian beef? Yeah, that's true fact. And the other issue is like they wouldn't want like a ton of more exports from GB in terms of agri-foods. Anyways, the farmers, some of the farmers in the EU won't like it. And if they start piping up about it, then you're not going to get anywhere. There's a ton of vested interest within the EU, so it does move a bit slower than kind of individual nation states, but their numbers and their economic size give them a lot of trade leverage, which is something Brexiteers failed to understand. You can see Australian beef coming down the track. Absolutely. That's going to be one of the big issues of the stuff going from Australia to Great Britain, and then potentially Great Britain into Northern Ireland or into France. That would be problematic, yes. It'll also be a problem with things like, I think they call it compound products, like ready meals and stuff like that. That will be another problem as well. That's something that M&S have run into a lot, where their ready meals are impossible to export into the EU because all their sandwiches and all their stuff get checked. The bread, the meats. If it's a ham and cheese sandwich, the bread will get checked, the ham will get checked, the cheese will get checked. It's just mental, honestly. And I think the dude who runs M&S who's run into these problems is pretty moronic. In the words of Superman, idiotic. I think the UK gaining EU membership again is too far in the future to benefit Northern Ireland peace. I think unity will happen. I think you're right, CJ. I agree with that. Evening, Von. Being in the EU is in the interests of all in the region. A united Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England. It just shows how that's achieved. Ireland has done well from Brexit, it's true. Are we having fun yet? I'd say yes. Raven. We are having fun. 44 shipping routes to Europe, yes. Irish ferries are doing very well out of Brexit because they are a bigger they are the new kind of land bridge, I think. So goods from Ireland can go into Great Britain or go into kind of the other EU member states, things like that. And they also benefiting a lot more from tourism. There are a lot more French ferries going to Ireland, which we've discussed previously, because there is a historical connection there, and they're kind of pushing that a lot. 60 TDs is huge. You're talking about Irish. I'm not too familiar on the Irish parliamentary or the Irish political system, like how they're elected and stuff, apart from PR. Excuse me. Even if Labour win, I would not expect a slew of trade deals. Are you talking about like trade deals with other countries, or trade deals or deals in the context with the EU? Raven, can you clarify? Because in terms of FTAs with other countries, it's not going to happen, even with Labour in charge. If anything, Labour are going to reduce the amount of FTAs that happen because it's going to take longer to negotiate. Otherwise, because the countries, let's be honest now, Australia and New Zealand have absolutely destroyed us in these trade negotiations. They've done everything on their terms and gotten exactly what they wanted, with us getting minimal back, to the point where we're getting laughed at by these countries. Even like when they covered these trade deals in the past, the Aussies were laughing at us. The New Zealanders couldn't believe it. Honestly, Jacinda Ardern, like, she looked like she was trying to hold back laughter when she was interviewed about it. It's just madness. Lots of questions about Ireland. UK was big in food processing, and now it's screwed because the UK is in recession and the EU market is gone. Yeah, the thing with food processing is, I was chatting to my mate today, and he was saying like he bought some pre-made chicken burgers from a supermarket, right, a halal one, and he goes, he don't buy the cheap stuff anymore because the meat stank, and that is very concerning to me. Is there something wrong with the chat? I think it's fine now. Brexit, Russia, climate. That's why I stopped. That's why I just planted beans and watermelons, or as a famous man said, watermelon. A different streaming's bias. I'm off to be told how Labour is the saviour and Starmer's. Fair play, Phil McCracken. If that's your thing, then go for it. Unionists will have to learn. Trade deals with the EU. Yeah, the bilateral deals are not. I don't see a ton of them happening. Let's see. Any more interesting? The dude who runs M&S put all the All Ireland hub in Scotland. Yeah. I remember you mentioned it. I think it was you mentioned it, Jody. He put the All Ireland hub, instead of putting it in Northern Ireland, which would have made sense. He put it in Scotland. What an absolute genius. Yeah, not unless there's a lot to gain from the EU. A few select trade deals with, I guess we'll call them bilateral deals, with the EU, but not a slew. Yes, I agree with that. That would be, more questions around, I think, the United Ireland system, more objective, peaceful revolution in the UK, followed by a focus on green development. It's not going to be a peaceful revolution, let's be honest. Yeah, fact. I think FF and FG would work together to keep Sinn Féin out. It would, like I said, like politicians, especially certain politicians, they are desperate to cling on to power, and they'll do whatever they have to. They feel like they have to do to cling on to it. As was discussed in a chat the other night, there are a few throwaway deals the EU gives the UK, but only if the UK shows up to be. That's going to be the key, I think, and that's something we'll discuss. I'll be doing some content on maybe in a couple of months about kind of what the UK kind of has to do now, I think, because rejoining the EU will be incredibly difficult and near impossible over the next couple of decades, but there's a lot the UK can do to at least show goodwill and show that kind of, I guess, the path the EU is on, or at least most of the EU members are on, bar Hungary and Poland. That's the path the UK wants to be on, and that's what the UK have to do. There's a lot to be done here, and we have to look inward at where things went wrong for us, in terms of, the xenophobia and the bigotry and the idea, kind of the English nationalism that we saw. And I don't mean kind of nationalism isn't the right word, because nationalism, it has two different meanings. Kind of it was the extreme that I don't know how to explain it, but it was that kind of idea that we're better than everyone else. I guess that's what I'd say. Reliable partners, and how can the UK achieve that given the toxicity of Westminster? It's just this lot have to go. Gotta go to lucky for some having a barbecue. I think the UK has to show itself to be a reformed country, or sort of Westminster has to show itself to be reformed, and that takes a long time. a long time to do that, to show, the UK kind of post-Suez moved towards being a bit more soft power. Yes, there were issues, and we did a lot of bad stuff in countries like Iran, etc. But, the UK did try and at least portray itself to be different to how it was before the Suez crisis. And I think that's what's going to happen. It's got to happen. The UK has to look at a reformation, I think. English jingoism and nostalgia for empire. Yeah, that was the problem. And I think we need to stop looking romantically at the empire. We have to just stop it, honestly. Even when we had the empire, there were still massive amounts of poverty in this country. Britain needs to grow up. Yeah, it pretty much does. The world's changed a lot, since before we joined the EEC, and it's time we understood that. The stuff like the trade Australia does with its neighbours and things like that. The world has changed so much, and it's about time we kind of understood that. I think I'll just finish off on the stuff I wanted to say around this stuff here, because I want to cover it in a video anyway, so I don't want to bore anyone too much with repetition. But I think it's going to be important just to run through this. So we can see Labour have said that they will accept dynamic alignment, even though they say they want an equivalency deal. So these are two different things. So that's if you're going to play the game, be consistent on what you're saying, because otherwise you undermine yourself. You forgot my question. What was your question? It's not here. Is that? Did you post it in Discord? I think you posted it to me in Discord, right? Bear with, gang. Just bear with me 1 second. Let me see if I can answer Sock's question. Factors. Let's see. Bear with me 1 second, gang. Need to find the question. You can branch out. Sock, can you resend me the question or post it in the community section? No, here it is. Are you interested? See, a couple of things. What the media... So I think what Drakeford said about Westminster, I'd have to... if it's all right, if you just send it to me in DMs, and I'll try and answer it next week, if that's all right. Just send me it again, and I'll try and answer it next week. An old geezer wanting back the Empire. Honestly, it doesn't surprise me about the Empire stuff. Or Sock, I can speak to you about later. Honestly, I'll chat to you later about it, whatever the question was, and I'll just answer it off stream. It's no problem. That's the magic of Discord. So this is the thing Labour are going to have to combat, especially if they're not quite careful around their alignment and equivalency talk. This is it here. So this is from obviously the Telegraph. So Labour rejoiners are also too canny to show their hand. One passionate Europhile Labour MP tells the Telegraph those 200 or so Labour MPs who met daily during Brexit seem to abandon even mentioning it because we appear to be chasing those red wall seats that voted leave. And they talk about, they will argue that dynamic alignment... Who is arguing this? So those who helped to negotiate the Brexit deal, or more formally the trade and cooperation deal, refer to Labour's baby steps towards rejoining. One source involved in hammering out the deal said this will probably be Frost or someone near Frost. They haven't ruled out anything involving dynamic alignment or accepting, the rulings of the European Court of Justice. Now, the issue is that the Northern Ireland Protocol allowed rulings from the European Court of Justice. So whoever's saying this is talking absolute garbage. Because if the ECJ was such a problem, you included that in the Northern Ireland Protocol. And this is where, they can run into problems. So I'm not sure who's being cited here, but this is a Brexiteer, I think, saying they'll argue that dynamic alignment, maintaining the standard, the same regulatory standards on goods and services, will help solve the Great Britain Northern Ireland trade checks. It will for the most part. And the next stage on from that, so it will go to solve the Northern Ireland Protocol problems effectively. And the next stage on from that is to soften EU-UK checks. And before you know it, they'll say, we are accepting their rules and standards, we might as well just rejoin. And this is kind of the argument we've seen from some commentators. They do say this stuff, when we talk about rejoining the single market, well, why don't we just say we'll apply for full EU membership? And so what they're trying to do is kind of handhold people to get them to the answer. The problem is that handholding doesn't exist within reality. That's the fundamental problem I have with it. It's dishonest. And so when I spoke to Plan to Me, well, it does sound like a good plan. The problem is, you have to kind of condition people to understand the problems with Brexit. So saying you're going to make Brexit work and wasting 5 years on that, it bogs down the process way too much, especially when Starmer says dumb stuff in the Express, like there's no point pretending everything is fine. The paper-thin Tory deal has stifled Britain's potential and hugely weighted trade terms towards the EU. Every day it isn't built upon, our European friends and competitors aren't just eating our lunch, they're nicking our dinner money as well. So I think it kind of portrays the EU as kind of just stealing opportunities from us, nicking our dinner money. I think it's very clumsily written. I think facing reality is the first step. I think what I would have just said is, the Tories have allowed it so the EU can just outcompete us, or something like that. Like the Tories have basically given everything away to the EU. Maybe that's what he should have said, something like that. They were happy to sell the family China. And this is another thing I want to discuss as well, and I'll do that in the video, which is you got this from Professor Paul Burnell, right? And this is kind of the defense of Labour, which I just don't appreciate. So Burnell tweets, quote, "Lots of Labour supporters making a valiant attempt at defending the indefensible this morning. Please, you're not going to convince me by yes, Starmer's right in support of Brexit, and you're wrong to be concerned because he's right. At least throw us a bone here." And I guess the point is, like, yes, 100% he's pandering to gammon. And I think the problem is that he is moving too far into the kind of Brexiter wing. And what that means is he's not doing anything to placate the base. That's something Boris Johnson did. He at least placated his base. And that's how he won the South and the North. Whereas Starmer isn't doing that. Rejoin is not on the table for years. Starmer can always stand down when or if it is. I suppose so. I mean, he won't be Prime Minister by the time this stuff happens. He'll be long gone by this period. And so you've got Mr. Bias here saying, Starmer is planning to add millions of pro-EU voters to the electorate, as well as introducing reforms which are an essential part of even qualifying to apply for EU membership, right? So he's talking about allowing EU citizens to vote and 16 and 17-year-olds, which Starmer's kind of really pulled back on the EU citizens vote, and the 16 to 17-year-old vote. I don't know if that makes such a big difference, honestly. So you got Paul Burnell saying, is he really? And so you got this guy Scott Walton. He comes up with some dumb stuff saying, it's interesting how you believe Starmer when he says he'll keep Britain outside the EU. Whole disbelieving when he says he'll give the EU permanent residents a vote. The problem is Starmer, he pulled back on a lot of his manifesto promises. And what Starmer has said is the single market and customs union aren't happening. And I have no issue with Starmer saying we're not going to rejoin the EU and the single market and customs union. I would rather he phrases it rather than using his kind of gammon pandering just to say there's no mechanism for it. That's what I'd rather he says, and that at least leads people to believe that we can't just rejoin the single market. There's other stuff we have to. There's no mechanism for that. There's a Max tweet in there. It's not super relevant. And he said about the kind of EU citizens vote, he's claiming that Starmer, just said the details hadn't been worked out yet about how long an EU citizen would need to have settled status for to qualify. So, there's clearly no plan to do it. And we don't know how long you have to be settled for, 5, 10, 15 years, things like that, really. I would rather, if you're a long-term resident in the UK, for you to be given, given a vote. I think it makes sense. If you're here for 10 years or whatever. Starmer could be bolder and state that he's paving the way towards EU membership, for example. He's a cow. I don't think he even needs to. He even needs to say that. I think he's just got to say the EU are our main trading partner. Having closer alignment with them makes a lot of sense to do trade. And the EU set the minimum standards. We could have higher standards than the EU, which we had already when we were EU members. We had higher than the minimum standards. His kind of argument here, and I know people, if that dude's here in the chat, he's gonna be like, oh, look at you, obsessed, whatever. Like, the point is, Phil's claim is, Starmer is introducing reforms which are an essential part of even qualifying to apply for EU membership. So let's have a look at what the ascension criteria is, right? This is the Copenhagen criteria, okay? So is Starmer granted, creating the more stable institutions, guaranteeing democracy, the rule of law, human rights, and respect for and the protection of minorities. So let's break this one down. Is he going to help the stability of institutions? I haven't seen anything like that. Guaranteeing democracy? Definitely not, because we have the anti-protest votes, which Labour aren't going to get rid of. Protect human rights. We have the illegal immigration bill, which even Suella Braverman has said she's not sure if it's even going to be be kind of in accordance with human rights laws. So unless Starmer's going to get rid of the illegal immigration bill, he's not doing anything regarding human rights. Protection of minorities, that would fall into that bit. And obviously the anti-protest bills, we know that it's going to be minorities and women who are going to get harassed the most by these bills. Let's be honest now. Let's be honest. So has Starmer pushed is he pushed anything to really help with the ascension criteria on point 1? No, he hasn't. The market economy stuff, that's fine. The competition, I don't think Starmer's pushing anything that would impact that one. The ability to take on obligations of membership, including the capacity to effectively implement the rules, standards, and policies. This one probably fine, right? Probably fine. The monetary union stuff, I think that would be difficult because I can't see us. I don't think we'll accept the euro, I'll be honest. That's going to be the problem there. But we'll ignore the euro. We ignore the euro bit, right? Is Starmer doing any of these things? No. So the argument that Starmer is introducing reforms which are an essential part of even qualifying to apply for EU membership, I think is pretty garbage. I don't think the EU are the biggest fans of things like the House of Lords, which are unelected, but I would say the House of Lords would be the least of the EU's concerns. I'll be honest. The House of Lords, I don't have a problem with the Lords. The only problem I have with the Lords is the way they're funded. That's my biggest issue with them. So this right here is garbage. Absolute garbage at this point he's making it. And like I said, he's trying to convince Liberal voters to vote Labour. The ones that, exist within Tory seats. And I think it's just such a dumb thing to do. So we've gone through that one. This is Phil's rival in the Starmer fanboy club. This is Ian Dunt, who did the Romaniacs podcast, I think. And this is like, wow. This is wow. Do you really think the Tories are better than Starmer? Starmer will obviously make progress on these metrics. He needs to appeal to swing voters, not us. Tim, I get that, right? The problem is he's going to lose his base. He's going to lose the very pro-EU members, and he's not going to appeal to certain members. That's what's going to happen. So what's going to happen is he might get swing voters to turn out, gamble, but the core voters for Labour I don't think will turn out. Because as kind of Paul Bennell points out here, at least throw us a bone here. That's what people can ask for. At least throw us something to get us to vote. And I don't think that's going to happen. You cannot ignore the euro. Almost every country will insist on it. The UK needs... Yeah, I get the euro thing. The only thing I'm ignoring is in the context of this conversation, right? Because, this point isn't super important compared to this point. That's what I'm saying here. The EU will look at kind of our institutions and things like that and say, nah, you're done. You're done. You ain't joining the club. That's my kind of point. I get the EU are going to push for the euro. That's fine. I get that. Do I have Dunt's article? God, I don't have it. Or is it here? Is it this? Oh yeah, this is Dunt's article. So we kind of discussed that, but we will float back towards it. So what Ian Dunt says is, talking about the single market stuff, saying you can ignore the hardcore no single market rhetoric from Starmer, which again, if you use the argument that I used, I think he'd be fine. He's using a bit of a gammony argument. That's not okay with me. I will never excuse dog whistle racism or any kind of xenophobia on this chat. You can't do it. Whether it's stuff that happened under Corbyn, stuff that happened under any party leader, you can't allow it to happen. Really wonder if he thinks EU citizens don't read this stuff. Can you guys get the Express in Germany? Phil is a member of the Labour Party. Yeah, Pete, I get that. He was a member of the Labour Party under Corbyn, and he was very critical of Corbyn. At least I believe he was a member under Corbyn. So, he's going to be pro-Labour. That's fine. But you can't be pro-Labour to a fault. That's the point. Let's see, I get the throw us a bone thing, but what good did it do? EU exit, Boris Johnson PM, Liz Sunak, IG Starmer. Yes, I get that. The point is, if the base don't turn out, if the core Labour voters don't turn out, you ain't going to win these swing seats. That's the point. If the apathy is high, like it is, and Starmer isn't offering basics to Labour supporters, I've spoken, I speak to, family members who, they're not big into politics like I am. They're not a nerd. And they ask me, what's going on and things like that. And when I speak to them and try and talk about Starmer, they don't care because he's not offering anything, and that's the point. People won't turn out and vote. They'll look at the Tories, they'll look at Labour and say both the same, both the same. Especially when Starmer's pulled back on so many of his manifesto pledges, and it's very clear the media are going to run the line of, can he be trusted when he's pushed back, when he has revoked so many of his promises? That's going to be the problem. That's the problem I've made and others have made as well, Tim. So it's not about it's not about Starmer being a good or bad candidate. It's the fact that you have to offer the base something, and that's what Boris Johnson did when he won over the North and the South. He offered the party base something to make sure they turned out. That's the problem. I can't make the conversation more nuanced than that. I really can't. No, but we in Germany have internet and most of us speak English. You have internet in Germany? Wow, that's crazy. By the way, they have internet in Brussels and they speak English too. I didn't even know. I didn't know other countries had the internet, honestly. I can't. In Germany, I don't believe you. I don't think Bavaria has the internet, I'll be honest. But, you've got this, right? So Dunt saying it's ultimately extremely unhealthy to have the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition unwilling to state one of the major causes of our economic malaise. But we are where we are. Well, we are where we are because politicians won't be honest with people. That's the problem. Because it's always going to be a long journey back, with the crunch point being that Labour, the Labour offer for its second term. So jam tomorrow. The best we can do get for the first is get the closest possible relationship outside the single market and customs union, and I think that's roughly what we've got, which that isn't true because we're looking for an equivalency deal. The closest possible deal would be an alignment deal across multiple sectors. So what he's saying here is complete garbage. He goes, Brexit is dying on its arse, and now it's turned from a question of identity to one of practicalities. The process may be a slow one, but we are heading in the right direction. We're not heading in the right direction because people are realising Brexit's a bad idea, right? People are realising that, but the problem is it's very slow because the politicians and the media are not talking about it. That's the problem. That 50, I think it's 52% or something are against Brexit, which again, you'll have to look at polling data on specific days, stuff like that. But the issue is that these people don't understand this. They don't understand this point. If the Tories are smart in the next election after Starmer, which Starmer can win next year, they are well able to say that they are for returning to the... Oh my God, Sabine, that would be... I think we'll see that. I think we will see that, I'll be honest. I think we'll see it. And it would be glorious, honestly. Let's see. But yeah, going back to this, to those saying this ignores what Starmer is saying, I would advise you to look at what Starmer is actually saying. It's quoted extensively in the piece. The better question is, how far will he go to secure it? So, if we go back to looking at Dunt's piece, right, which I didn't look at too closely, he goes, there is no point pretending everything is working fine, the Tory deal, blah, blah, blah. He outlined his 5 points last year. There would be a new veterinary agreement between the UK and the EU, which would then extend to cover all UK benefiting exporters. Now, the issue is that Dunt has claimed, right, this, the 5 proposals include dynamic alignment on EU standards. Agreeing these common standards will create a safety net to ensure our food standards are leading, right? And so, if we have a look at what Dunt is talking about, it's from the New Statesman, right? I don't know specifically what side here, but if we go back, right, to this piece here originally, Starmer sets out his 5-point plan, right? There's nothing about, I don't think there's anything about dynamic alignment here. So, Control F, no dynamic alignment, no word dynamic. The words, let's see if we can find alignment. Can't find alignment. What we can find is, right, Labour will seek a new veterinary agreement like New Zealand and Canada. So this man is writing in The Independent, and in my opinion, he's gaslighting the readers of this. And whoever the editor was for this piece should get sacked as well. They should face disciplinary, because what he's writing here is complete farce. What he's writing here is farce, because we can see in Starmer's 5-point plan, he doesn't talk about dynamic alignment, especially not for agri-foods. What he does talk about is equivalency. So this man's talking absolute garbage in this piece, and I will go through it and I will break it down for in the video. In the actual video I've done this, because this is so stupid. Look closer still, there is more to offer. Starmer might have ruled out a return to freedom of movement, but he's spoken about new flexible labour mobility arrangements for making these short-term work trips for musicians and artists. The problem is he's got to negotiate that with individual EU member states, which is difficult. That's the problem. It's not just him, accepting that these are the problems. He's got to go there and talk to EU member states. That's going to be the difficulty. This is not a one-way street. So what Dunt has talked about here is complete garbage. And this man's just such a weirdo, honestly. Him and Phil are just Starmer's biggest fanboys. It's just moronic at this point. And you got 53% of people saying we should seek a close relationship with the EU, and almost 23 and 14. So what's that? 37% of people saying that they don't want a close relationship. So it's not that clear. And these 53% of people might be the ones that are already quite pro EU anyways. And you got here, Labour are in danger of being too pro Brexit, top pollster warns. So clearly the pendulum is swinging, but the problem is once that pendulum swings the other direction to being more pro EU, Labour are going to look completely stupid given the Brexit comments they have made. You got this dude here, grown something. Apparently he was a politics teacher, and so this is probably one of the most this is genuinely one of the most ridiculous tweets I've seen in my life. He goes, the common complaint from those members on the left who have lost their collective minds is that Starmer abandoned his pledges. He hasn't. First tweet, to start with, some time has passed. These pledges were never intended to be taken as a manifesto, not where any time limits placed on them. To enact everything on the list would take 2 or more likely 3 terms. Starmer is term 0. So let's look at the ones that we have got. The Green New Deal, and full voting rights for EU nationals, where he's railed back on that one. So that one's not even true. We haven't even seen that one. So some of these he's going to do, some of them he's not. So it's just nonsense, honestly, absolute nonsense. He's rode back on economic justice, increased tax for the top 5% of earners. He's railed back on that one when it was absolutely stupid to do so. Sorry, let me actually check comments, see if there's anything. Let's have a look quickly. Sorry. Let's have a look at comments before I continue. Apparently Germans have internet. Honestly, the unravelling kingdom is more likely to unravel than rejoin the EU. You're not wrong. As the UK anyways. See, United Ireland wouldn't be logical for all parties like Alliance to try and run candidates in all, or at least as many constituencies, not just the 6. Yeah, I think we'll see the parties that are based in Northern Ireland try and run broadly within Ireland. It just depends if they've got the funding to do it. That's going to be the tricky bit, because obviously it's going to cost a lot more money. I don't know how much it costs to kind of run those kind of political campaigns, but in England you need a deposit to you need to put up a deposit. I've been going for 90 minutes. Yeah, I've got a lot to say. Starmer closed the door definitively. It'll be hard for him when he's in power. It'll be hard for him to say afterwards the UK. Yes, that's the problem, because you have to, Sabine, I agree with you. You have to set the groundwork. Now the stage has to get set, and Starmer hasn't done that. Guys like Phil are trying to do that. O'Brien is trying to do it. Dunt is trying to do it. But the problem is it has to be the politicians. It has to come from the top. From what I've seen, Alliance policies that they're centre, left and progressive. Yeah, it's a good spot to be in for Alliance. EU said again, no cherry picking. They did, yes. Starmer didn't close the door. The Tories did. No, Starmer has bolted it. He's bolted it. He's pushing actively against that door. Phil's brainwashed when it comes to Starmer. You're not wrong. Phil pounced on me for being critical of Starmer. He was wrong. There's nothing wrong with being critical of Starmer. As long as you can back up what you're saying, it's fine. In terms of South, bringing the North in, Alliance would be the ones to give a vote to. That makes sense. Phil is like a North Korea when it comes to the great leader Starmer. That's a bit mean. The UUP. What? Finally, you live. Hi, Purple. Yeah, it's a politics chat, but yeah, it's good stuff. Number 3, agree, and those retorts have become increasingly more obvious. Yes, they have, fact. You need to redirect the debate on the cause of Brexit, which is anti-immigration, which is total denial of why the people come here, which is a direct consequence of being a former colonial empire. It's not just the consequence of being a colonial empire, it's because people see the UK as a good opportunity, be that for just making money directly, just to get a high-paying job, to get certain, to get not qualifications per se, but to say, I've worked 5 years in the UK, so if they go to another country, they can say, look, I'm not some jobber, I'm, qualified, I've worked in the UK, a prestigious country, or for prestigious institutions, that kind of stuff. It's not just for the colonial empire, but it has played a part in it, yes. Been going for 90 plus, so we'll probably cut the stream in about 10 minutes. Once I've gotten through this bit I want to talk about. I think they've gone a bit further left since their policies. After 13 years of the Tories stealing everything, including the lead from the church roof, how I'd vote for Binface if I thought he could win, but it's a 2-horse race, that's just the facts. Larry, I agree with you, mate, I'll be honest, but the one thing we have to do now is be critical of the people in charge of the Labour Party, because once they come into power, they are not going to have a lot of time to fix things, and we have to make sure they're going to do it. And them being very weird on certain policies does not fill me with confidence, because they are going to crumble under the media spotlight, because that spotlight is bright, especially on Labour MPs, especially when they're asked questions like, how are you going to pay for it, how are you going to pay for it, and all sorts of dumb questions. They will melt under this spotlight. And so now it's time for them to get gut checked, because they have time now, between now and the election, to fix up. That's my problem. They have time to fix up and actually come up with good policies and be competent when they do interviews. This is not to be critical of them just for the sake of being critical or because I don't want them to win. I want them to win more than anything. But, as any good coach will tell you, that you have to put in the hard yards in training. You have to be prepared for outcomes. And Labour have to be prepared for being grilled during the election, because it's going to happen. The media love it. I'm all good purple, mate. I'm just a bit heated at the moment, as you can tell. But I'm feeling good. Look forward to when Starmer gets elected and acts like a Tory. Don't say that. I can't live with that. Yeah, Phil will be busy defending 2 dead horses peak. I'm doing good, mate. A purple. Let's see. A different bias indeed. A bit too biased, I'd say. Pakistanis go to the UK. The Algerians go to France. I suppose. Yeah, okay, I get your point. But the thing is, I think in Algeria, I don't know if they learn French. But I think in Pakistan they would learn English. So I think that's one of the other reasons why. Let's see. Phil blocked me when I questioned his adoration of Starmer. That is North Korean. That's a bit over the top. Starmer is now the face of Brexit and Labour. The party can pivot towards the EU by changing the leader once the population is generally behind the idea. I suppose that's true, but will Starmer want to give up power at that point? And when does that happen? Is that after the first term or the second term? And we know politicians don't like giving up. They don't like giving up the crown very easily. They don't, unless they're forced to. Tony Blair, I think he was only meant to do 2 elections, and then he was meant to hand it over to Gordon Brown. He didn't do that. So yeah, a lot of talk about Irish unification in the chat. So a couple bits. Well, it's basically 2 more, to be honest. 2 more tweets, and then we'll do some final questions. Fact, I don't think he's doing any new videos, unfortunately. I'll let him answer the question though. So you got even Mr. James O'Brien is in doubt, saying Starmer's current position depends on people voting Labour because they believe his Brexit line, and people voting Labour because they don't believe his Brexit line. Hard to see what else he can do at this point, but there is stuff he can do, but whatever. But it's undoubtedly, I'm not sure what that word is, undubitably, a great opening for the Lib Dems. And the Lib Dems, like I said, Ed Davey, I've said it in Discord before, Ed Davey is hella boring. Ed Davey is hella boring, but he's no idiot. And under the media spotlight, he'll be fine, I think. He'll be fine. Fact 50, Myanmar currency. Great stream, mate. Fantastic interaction with your viewers. Yeah, it's a good amount of comments, so it's constantly flowing. But it's not too much where I can kind of keep up with it. Thanks, Fact, mate. Top on. On Twitter, so many say they will not vote Labour because of the Brexit line. A lot of young people, they will vote Lib Dem or Green. Yes, I think they should vote. They should, if they're pro EU, they should vote for the Lib Dems. And I'm a guy. I clowned the Lib Dems for a decade. I've clowned the Lib Dems for a decade. If Andy was here, I'd apologise to him because I clowned them for a long time. But if it was a PR system, I would vote Lib Dem. And they're the reason why. They're one of the reasons why I pay such high tuition fees. But I would vote Lib Dem. I'd forgive him. Honestly, I'd forgive him. I still think they should have voted for Layla Moran over Ed Davey. But we are where we are. At this point in time, I'll take boring over all these personalities like Trump and Johnson. Yeah, I'll take boring as well. The problem is his problem isn't just he's got no writ. His problem is he's not very good at being a politician. He's constantly moving goalposts and undermining what the other Labour front benches have said. It just doesn't work. And I think this from Professor Bennell here. Bennell, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name here. He's a guy I'd want to speak to actually. He seems quite interesting. He's got credentials as well by the looks of things. A div according to Edwina Curry. I mean that's high praise. That's a big status. Starmer is bland. It's more than just being bland. The guy puts the audience to sleep. Maybe that's what he meant by being bland. See, this from Professor Bernal, right? Saying, I have a small theory about Starmer. I know people think he's playing 5D chess or has a secret plan to lead us back into the EU. Alternatively, that he's a puppet in the hands of donors. I don't think so. I think the dark secret about Starmer is he's exactly what he seems to be. There are no secrets. That doesn't mean he's always telling the truth, of course. He isn't. But that when he doesn't, it's for obvious reasons. He lies for simple political gain, and often he's not lying when he seems to be. He's not pretending to support Brexit now. He's changed his position because he thinks supporting Brexit works politically. He's come out against immigration not as a lie, but because he thinks being anti-immigration works politically. He may, of course, be right about all of this. He may not. But what he doesn't do is key principles get in the way of what he thinks is politically effective. There's nothing clever, nothing special, nothing that needs deep analysis. No 5D chess, no cunning plans, no clever endgame. He is what he seems to be. This, of course, is entirely my opinion. And I think he's right there. Starmer is he's your average bargain basement politician. He's just obsessed with power and he will do whatever the polls and the focus groups whatever he thinks the polls and focus groups don't... Sorry, I'm struggling to speak here. He will do whatever the polls and focus groups tell him to do or what he thinks they're telling him to do. Sounds like an election winner to me. Good luck with that. And when he goofs in those 5 years of power and the Tories come back in, don't say we didn't warn you. And if you're alright with this kind of politics, then fair. We get the politicians we deserve at the end of the day. And if that's the kind of politician you're happy with, then fair enough. I'm not gonna criticise you much more than Tim. That's him. The base decides, therefore fight the base. He's doing a lot more than that. He's put his moral compass in the bin. He has. Some of Starmer is unprincipled, obsessed with power. Then what does he do with it? That's the question. Like Rachel Sharby said. The adults of they claim the adults have taken back power. What are they going to do with it? And I agree. Fact, he's a poor leader. Oh, great. The chat's cut out. He's a poor leader, communicator, and a visionary. Like I've said, I've pointed out in this video, and I've pointed out in several other videos, what are Labour going to do? Are they going to seek an alignment deal with the EU? An alignment deal the EU have already ruled out. The EU have already ruled this out. Or are they going to get an alignment deal? An equivalency deal they've ruled out. Or are we going to get an alignment deal like, some Labour front benches are saying, like Ian Dunt is claiming? And I'm sure others will claim as well. And how will they deal with the media when they say, what was the point of Brexit when you're going to go for dynamic alignment? Again, if they were smart, yes, they can play the game and say, we're going to get a veterinary agreement. It's going to be equivalency. Of course, the EU are going to say, we're not going to give you that because it's a negotiation. And they can point at Frost not being able to get an equivalency deal. They can say, we're better negotiators. Or they can say, Frost was untrustworthy. We knew that from the jump. The EU didn't trust him. Oh, Cthulhu's here. Oh no, everyone run. I don't excuse politicians who use dog whistle racism. Like, people in the chat, please understand that. Once you start using dog whistle racism, I'm not on your team. You're done. That's the point. You don't excuse that stuff. The reason why we're in this mess is because of xenophobia and dog whistles. Because they decided to attack minorities. That's one of the reasons we're in this mess. Because this country thought it was better than everyone else. This kind of toxic nationalism, toxic patriotism. That's how we got in this mess in the first place. I don't know how people are struggling to understand that. Did you play Mark's North America game? You should score much higher than me. What is this about a North America game? But I think that's it. I think the rest of it would be the COVID inquiry, which we've already discussed. There's some stuff on Brexit about the LSE studies, etc. There was the story I'm going to cover is pretty gross, to be honest with you. A British reporter had a big Me Too story that was killed by her editor. That's something I'm going to discuss at some point soon. That's going to be a tough one to go through. That article's grim. This one from the other day about a boom in German firms fleeing to Germany. No, British firms fleeing to Germany, sorry. And quite a few other stories that we'll be going through. I didn't want to do this one. I just wanted to read it. So yeah, there's a lot of stories and stuff like that that I think are probably worth covering. There was one or two more things actually. No, I'm wrong. Are you guys ready for this? Right? Where is it? Oh yeah, this is great. So, Sunak, right, produced a music video, and what happened was they got bullied so quickly they deleted it, but someone managed to download it and they reposted it. So we're gonna watch this together. Are you guys ready for this? Honestly, right? You're not ready for this. Let me know if the audio levels are a bit off. I think it might be coming across a bit loud. Yeah, that's too loud, isn't it? That's too loud. Let me see. Is that too loud? Is that how's the volume on this? Is it too loud? Let me know. I can't lie, the beat on this is pretty good. Now I regret I can't see, but I can hear. It's fine, right? So yeah, let me know if the audio is all good. But like I said, this is it's low. Okay, I turned it down, so let me put it back up. Okay, let me know about this now. So yeah, basically the beat on this is really good, but the delivery and the content is very Sunak-esque. Honestly, it's not even Sunak doing the reading, but whoever authorized this messed up. Yeah.
What a month it's been. Kicking off with the coronation. It was a once-in-a-generation event. From the big lunch to the big help out.
The guy doing the voiceover, he sounds bored, like he doesn't want to do this.
And of course the big day itself. This month, like every month, the PM has been relentlessly focused on delivering your priorities. Inflation down.
The Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund praised the authorities in the UK for acting decisively to bring down inflation.
Growing the economy.
The voiceover is terrible, and this clip they used here of the socks thing is kind of cringe. I don't know why they included that, but the voiceover is terrible.
Reducing debt.
Saying that the UK is not going to face a recession this year.
We're facing, negative growth, but I wouldn't celebrate that. Not negative growth, sorry, zero growth, but alright, fine, let's celebrate that. Beat goes hard though, man. The beat is really good.
Cutting waiting list.
Pharmacies are so important to local areas. They make a huge...
They failed in their manifesto. He failed in his 5 pledges to cut the... what was it called? He said he would cut the waiting list, and they failed in that aim already. I'm gonna keep talking over it. I'm sorry. This is how I do it.
Huge difference to people's lives. I saw that growing up firsthand.
Stopping the boats.
To cooperate across borders and across jurisdictions to end illegal migration and stop the boats.
To welcoming our friend President Zelensky to Chequers. Crazy month. That was a rewind. We'll see you in the next one.
Honestly, I think this format could have worked for him if he didn't get the worst voice actor in the history of the game. Honestly, this guy's, they clearly spent all the money on the guy who did the beat, because the beat is pretty good. The violin, the bass and stuff like that, or the strings and the bass, really good. But whoever did the voice acting work, just never let bro cook again. He should not be doing this. He sounded so bored covering this. Honestly, do you know what, right? Because this is going to be we're going to end the stream in a few minutes, right? Because we're nearing the 2-hour mark. Yeah, my priorities are not their priorities. Wait for Joe 90 on steroids. Stop the boats. Yawn. Yeah. We're gonna go through this again. Let's watch this again. Because honestly, I love the beat that much. It's really good. But yeah, that was the only good thing about it. Yeah, the voiceover sounded sleepy. Honestly, it's awful. But yeah, that voiceover had been done by James cleverly holding his nose. Could you imagine?
What a month it's been. Kicking off with the coronation. It was a once-in-a-generation event. From the big lunch...
I mean, the coronation wasn't a once-in-a-generation event, because once Charles dies, there'll be another one, probably in the next 10 years.
...to the big help out. And of course, the big day itself. This month, like every month, the PM has been relentlessly focused on delivering your priorities. Inflation down.
The Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund praised the authorities in the UK for acting decisively to bring down inflation.
Growing the economy. Reducing debt.
Saying that the UK is not going to face a recession this year.
Cutting waiting lists.
Pharmacies are so important to local areas. They make a huge difference to people's lives. I saw that growing up firsthand.
Stopping the boats.
To cooperate across borders and across jurisdictions to end illegal migration and stop the boats.
To welcoming our friend President Zelensky to Chequers. Crazy month. That was a rewind. We'll see you in the next one.
I so hope they publish another one of these every month. I know taxpayers' money's going to it and it's wasted, but whoever did the voiceover for this, right? Whoever did the voiceover for this needs to get fired. Never let this guy do it again, because he sounded so bored by doing it. I don't know who produced this video, but it's something. Like I said, the music, the beat is really good. I enjoyed it a lot. So I was like, oh yeah, because someone said it's a music video, right? Someone said Sunak has deleted his music video. So I thought he's going to pull in Nadine Dorries when Nadine Dorries was like rapping. What do I think of the voiceover? It was trash. Studios, the voiceover sounds like a bad version of, I'm not familiar with that person, but it was awful. Honestly, it was bad. They should have just got me to do it, to be honest. Excuse me, I would have done a better job, I'll be honest. They could have hired any voice actor to do this. They should have got Keith Sutherland. They could have he could have afforded Sutherland to do the voice acting, honestly. Is that it is how I really feel. It is how I really feel, yes. Oh, it's not a parody. I thought it was a parody. It's not a parody. I think the guy who did the voiceover is just trying to be pretentious with a bad... It sounds like he's trying to sound kind of street, but not street at the same time. I can't explain it. Spent all that money and then pulled it. He really has some bad... Yeah, who greenlit this? Like the editing and stuff, right? If you just have a look at the the clips and stuff like that, the editing for this is fine. It transitions quite well. There's an awkward zoom there. They've got the King's coronation. It's not the best job in the world. It's fine. I think this color scheme is not great. Honestly, so I think it's the production is okay. I would not have gone for this color scheme. I think they should have gone for like the kind of conservative, maybe. I don't even know how you do it. Conservative blue, maybe, but I guess that wouldn't really work with black. But honestly, this was a work of art here. Shouts out Politics UK and David Castle, because they managed to get the video really quickly. David Castle managed to get the video really quickly and re-upload it, because they deleted it within they deleted it really quickly. I think it was within within about 10 minutes. He got absolutely rinsed on Twitter. It's definitely not Benedict Cumberbatch who did this. He got rinsed on Twitter so badly they just deleted it. It was so bad. It's not a parody. It's real. It's a real video. It is a real video, people. I'm telling you. Black, yellow equals warning colours in nature. Yeah, it's the Ford Mustang colours, I think, as well. It was a real video, people. I'm telling you. Please, I'll play it again if you guys don't believe me. I'll play it again. DJ spin that again. I'll play it again if I have to. But this is a real video. This is a real video. No, once I don't know, man, because like I said, the intro is lit. Oops. It's just as soon as the guy speaks, he ruins it. It's kind of like my videos. As soon as you hear me speak, I've ruined it. Video is nothing. I honestly, right? It's just who greenlit this? Who greenlit this? Who greenlit this? All right, fine. I won't play it. All right, fine. All right, I get it, people. Didn't realize they pulled it after. Yeah, they pulled it real quick. Nobody can accuse them of being overly competent messaging. Yeah, and this is the guy. This is the team Starmer's against. And when you see him struggling in interviews and stuff like that, you're like, bro, it's not hard. But then maybe it is, because Sunak struggles, the Tories struggle in every kind of in their media appearances. You had that dude, he was asked about the 40 new hospitals, and he was like, oh, refurbishment is new, bro. So yeah, honestly, what's it called? I don't know. Is answering questions in the media hard? Is it hard to give a straight answer to people? I don't know, because the Tories can't do it and Labour can't do it either. So I don't know what's going on. I don't. It's bizarre. I don't know what to say. And as tempted as I am to play this one more time for the audience, just because I find it fun, I'm not going to put you guys through it again. I ain't going to do it. But we are going to, Madge, check your Discord to see the narrator. Okay. Have you found the narrator? Was it the friends that we made along the way? Benjamin... What? They got this guy to do it? Oh, see, Jaden Cross, Policy Advisor, Department for Business. Oh, okay, so it must have been him. He greenlit it. Jaden Cross is the guy's name. Oh, okay. I'm good at what... Well, I'll give you that, to be fair. You found the guy. Play it again, Tim. Are we saying we should play it again? I'm seeing one person say play it again. I'm not going to do a poll. I'm not going to put you guys through it because we are near the 8 o'clock mark anyways, and I only want to stream for like an hour, but we've gone 2 hours. We've got about 2 hours, so Tim, I'm not gonna play it again. I'll post a link in chat and you can listen to it in your own time. All right, fine. All right, we'll play it again. The people have asked.
What a month it's been. Kicking off with the coronation. It was a once-in-a-generation event. From the big lunch to the big help out. And of course the big day itself.
Yeah.
This month, like every month, the PM has been relentlessly focused on delivering your priorities. Inflation down.
The Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund praised the authorities in the UK for acting decisively to bring down inflation.
Growing the economy. Reducing debt.
Saying that the UK is not going to face a recession this year.
I mean, how do you celebrate the fact that the UK is not going to face a recession this year? Saying, how do you take a victory lap over that? Honestly, it's madness.
Cutting waiting list.
Pharmacies are
every time I replay this video is another vote for the Tories. That's what I'm hearing.
to local areas. They make a huge difference to people's lives. I saw that growing up firsthand.
Stopping the boats.
To cooperate across borders and across jurisdictions to end illegal migration and stop the boats.
To welcoming our friend President Zelensky to Czechia.
Hey, you guys asked
Crazy month. That was the rewind. We'll see you in the next one.
He's trying to make it like cool, like the rewind. I know what it is. Is copying YouTube's rewind. He's copying kind of YouTube's rewind thing. You know, they do it every year, or they used to do it every year. Where they would kind of talk about the top creators and stuff. I think that's what he's trying to do, kind of give off like this guy's working, this month he's done all of these things, gone international, he's pushed the Sunak, Sunak's got his 5 priorities, so he's pushed that thing. So I guess it's meant to be like a neat video which kind of discusses, it's about a minute, less than a minute and a half. So I guess it makes sense actually, this video, but it's just really poorly produced. Toast of London, I think you could have hired any voice actor, right? They would have done a better job, because whoever they got in to do this, absolute, it just sucks. This guy sucks. Whoever did the voiceover sucks. I hope I never meet this guy, because he'd put me to sleep in about 2 seconds from his voice. Enthusiasm is exuding from his voice. It's like he's missing time down at the pub. The narrator is profoundly disinterested. He really is. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it there, I think. We're gonna wrap it there. Don't play. Sorry. I can't resist. But if Sunak wins the under-30s vote and wins the election, I will. You know what? With stuff like this, he might win it. You know, because I mean, listen to this beat again. Look. Where's Starmer's video? Unsubbing if I hear that. Yo, I might have to play it again. Works in a non-government organisation working to empower marginalised youth in different global contexts by providing them the means to process and express their challenges, hopes and dreams for a better tomorrow through creative arts. And yeah, I hope this guy is not the one who's leading the... I hope this guy is the one who's helping them with the creative arts, because he ain't doing a good job. The film work is fine, the cinematography is okay, I guess, but the music is real bad. The music is real bad. Not the music, sorry. The beat is fine. It's the voice. Oh, he's a lobbyist. Okay. The voiceover is really bad. I think, was there another comment I want to see? Make it stop. Stream was hilarious. Thanks, Sock Juice. Let's see. Yeah, good. Sorry, everyone. You know, like me, I'm first and foremost a troll, above anything else, and I love trolling people, even the audience, my own audience, my people. I will troll you guys because I'm just a mean dude. I'm a mean dude. But we're gonna wrap the stream here, I think. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it. Oh, I'm so tempted. But you know, once I've got the live stream music done, it's gonna be really exciting, and you know, a couple other bits and pieces. What is even in the time signature of that beat? I don't know. Don't go make another moose on you, Maj. I don't know what that means. I have another description. We'll get you back. I hope not. Let's see. Coolly hope you feel better soon. Yeah. But honestly, yeah, gang, I'll be heading out. I've been doing this about 2 hours now. Like I said, an hour and a half is the goal for the stream. But honestly, I think I've spent about 20 minutes on this video. So I've spent about 20 minutes just laughing at this cringe video. So I think we'll be alright. We had quite a lot of people join the stream though. I think what did we peak at? Peaked at 39 people, almost 40 people. That's really good. There's legit a part of the Tories that genuinely think they're cool. Like Michael Gove saying, I set trends. Oh man, if I heard Michael Gove say that, I'd be dead. I'm gone at that point. I'm just no words can do. You know, like when he started doing accents on BBC. When he looked like he was on the Colombian snow. If Michael Gove said the phrase "I set trends, then man copy," politics has peaked. Politics has peaked, and that's it. Just end the UK at that point. End Westminster, right? Just start it all over again. Hit the reset button. Get the Thanos click. Just get it done. Because honestly, he said it on. No, he didn't. He didn't. There's no way he said that. There's no way. Oh, let me see. Well, sorry, guys. I know I was going to the stream, but there's no way Michael Gove said that. Oh, there's no way. No way. Oh my god, he did. Oh my god. Oh my god, he did. Yes, I remember this. Oh my god, he did, didn't he? Oh my god. So Michael Gove responds to Stormzy back Jeremy Corbyn over sinister Boris Johnson. Stormzy said, someone said, I think Gove said he's a far better rapper than he's a political analyst, and Gove is crap at both. And then he put I said trend step that coffee. Oh my god. No, he did. Oh my god, I can't. I'm retweeting this. I'm keeping this forever. This tweet has made my day in all the wrong ways, but boy did I. Oh my god. I can't believe I forgot he said that. It's over. It's peaked. It peaked in 2019. Why didn't anyone hit the reset button? Oh my god. I can't believe he said I set trends then man coffee, and I can't believe I forgot it. That's shocking, honestly. That's gonna be up there when what's his face, the big man, when Dominic Cummings said, it's like everyone was blaming each other, like the Spider-Man meme where he points at himself, he points at the other one, but it's just a whole circle of people doing that. That genuinely, that's this country peaked at that moment. But honestly, that Michael Gove thing might have been the moment this country peaked. We should just reset the system. But yeah, I'm gonna head off. Is leaving the building. I think do I have to retire? Do I have to retire after seeing that? I set trends, Dead Man Coffee. This was the day the UK politics peaked in many ways. Good night, guys. Can't tell Maj's laughter anymore, but I thought the narrator was okay. I don't think he was great. But that's my opinion. Maj has a survey. He must want it Canadian free. I think I do. But I'm going to sign off now. I'll see you Wednesday. If there's PMQs on Wednesday, I'll be there on Wednesday. If not, I'll see you next Saturday. Make sure you remember, you'll see your community post on Fridays. You'll see a community post on Fridays. Post your questions there, and I'll try and answer them on the Saturday, or at least as soon as I get a chance to do a live stream. I'm going to leave it there because that's too much comedy for me today. I'll see you guys. Thanks everyone for the super chats and stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye.